Dear viewers, welcome to the daily global fintech brief. This is episode 1. I am David Gyori, I am your host. In each episode, we focus on one brief news item of the day. Ripple to support central banks through a private version of XRP Ledger. This headline comes from Finance Magnets. Ripple is a West Coast blockchain based cross currency, cross border interbank money transfer system, privately owned. It's a very exciting universe of innovation. Potentially the future of interbank messaging, clearing, and settlement. There are question marks about the business model and the concept and the brilliant innovations of Ripple. One of these question marks is related to XRP. XRP is actually the currency code of Ripple's synthetic currency. They developed this currency in order to enhance interbank clearing and settlement and messaging. They are using this synthetic imaginary digital currency created, floated, and and monetarily basically regulated by themselves in order to enhance this interbank procedure of value transfer. And an imaginary means of exchange, a synthetic, immediately messageable, clearable, settleable unit of value is actually very useful and meaningful. However, it raises myriads of issues, questions, uncertainties, points to regulate, discuss, explain, so it adds to complexity. For example, regulatory questions are arising. The Securities and Exchange Commission of the United States is actually currently examining certain questions related to this synthetic currency created by Ripple called XRP. Still, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of banks around the globe are cooperating with the Ripple to make the current SWIFT-based correspondent banking networks-based value transfer system more fluid, more efficient. And obviously, the number of banks happily cooperating with Ripple is on the rise. However, Ripple has competitors or indirect competitors. There are alternative concepts brewing in the system. Today, I want to bring here one alternative concept, the R3 Blockchain Alliance. The R3 Blockchain Alliance, in its design, in its concept, and in its physical existence, happens to be an East Coast initiative, which is a very different approach. It's actually an association of banks. Their blockchain is called Corda, which is a product name. We could criticize it if you have to come up with a different name for your effective interbank system, or you could use your core brand name R3. I have questions around this, but still, R3 integrates some of the largest banks globally on a cooperative basis, and I think this is the right approach. Now, there are approximately 400 banks from around the globe being basically members of R3 Alliance, working on the next generation global interbank messaging, clearing, and settlement protocol. I am simplifying now. Why do I think that the approach of R3, which is more of an East Coast traditional financial services, uh, cooperative, a little bit less complex, without a synthetic digital currency type of concept? Why do I think that this concept of R3 could be the winning concept, or could be one of the winning concepts? Well, if we look at prior uh, successful global level high impact systems within payments, such as SWIFT, the global paradigm of cross-border interbank messaging, MasterCard, Visa, when they were started, when they became successful, well, they were all based on this sort of cooperation of banks. When Visa was run by one bank in the United States, excluding the others, it had to be commercially unsuccessful. Payments is always about compatibility. And economy of scale. Now, when we read the headline, Ripple supports central banks through a private version of XRP Ledger. This refers to Ripple's activities trying to address central banks working on CBDC. What is CBDC? CBDC is central bank digital currency. Central bank digital currency is about bringing on a digital monetary base the currently existing circulating fiat currency, national legal tender, national legally binding means of payments. And this is actually happening. The Federal Reserve is working on it. PBOC, People's Bank of China, is working on it. The European Central Bank is increasingly open with Lagarde as opposed to Mario Draghi to this concept. And throughout the world, central banks are working on this, from Southeast Asia to the Middle East, from Africa to South America. And XRP uh, being somehow used for a basis of central bank digital currency can theoretically be meaningful. However, it raises very, very important questions. Central banks throughout the world will probably keep operations related to the monetary base very, very, very tightly in their hands. And by the way, looking at the past 4,000 years of monetary history, I suspect that the innovations originating from cryptocurrencies will more or less end up in the hands of sovereigns, i.e., independent central banks, speaking in current monetary terms. Obviously, there is much more into this story, but when we hear this headline or read this headline, we have to think through all these layers of payments transition around the world. Obviously, meanwhile, Swift is working on its own next generation messaging system, ISO 20022, which is basically the faster running horse as opposed to Ripple or R3, which are cars. Swift's new system is like a much better candle as opposed to bulb by Ripple and R3. Um, well, Swift's new system is like the new edition of an amazing traditional Nokia mobile phone compared to smartphones, which is Ripple or R3. So the disruptive paradigm happens to be the Ripple R3 type of thinking. But meanwhile, Swift, the current incumbent interbank cross-border cross-currency messaging paradigm, is actually beautifully working on innovations. Besides the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States asking questions related to XRP, the synthetic in-between bridge currency created by Ripple to enhance interbank transactions, banks themselves and the compliance departments, legal departments of banks, and other regulators as well are asking questions. And the answers, up to a certain extent, are open or even in some sense subjective. In this case, innovation is beautiful, but innovation and compliance being coordinated is always a question. Now, today's quote is this: cross currency interbank clearing, local currency interbank clearing, peer to peer mobile wallets, cards, e commerce, m commerce, cryptocurrencies, central bank digital currencies are all fundamentally different topics, areas, issues, and challenges. We see it shining back through how Ripple is working on extending its own focus. There is only one thing in common. All these areas are being disrupted at the same time. Tremendous amount of change is happening parallel, simultaneously, concurrently, and this is the core challenge of payments technology. In other words, PayTech. So this is a beautiful arena, very complex arena, and we have much more to discuss about it. Thank you for your attention. See you tomorrow with another news item, fresh news item, picked from the beautiful, amazing world of financial technology, analyzed by me. Thank you for your attention. I was your host, David Gyori. See you tomorrow.